everyone. I'm Dr. Jonas Prida, Assistant Provost at Point Park University. As you probably know, I'm here to talk with everybody out there in Inner Tube's world about the past no credit policy at Point Park University. So please send me credit, no, don't send me credits, that'd be weird. Send me questions about how this is gonna help you learn something more about how the past no credit policy is gonna work. What does it mean for your GPA? How is it gonna affect your potential scholarships? What might be doing with athletics? Any of those kind of questions I'll probably be able to answer. And if I can't answer them, I'll be able to direct you to a resource that will be able to answer them, because it's fundamentally is my job is to help you succeed in this very bizarre time that we're all kind of like going to school in, as well as trying to help you learn in. And so if we don't know all the answers, we'll try to get them back to you. So with that, let's start with some questions, people.
And everybody, I just want to say you're also seeing my face. My name is Angelo here with the Center for Student Success. Just going to be facilitating these questions to Dr. Prida as we see them come through. Nobody is on audio, so we can't hear you, so don't worry about any background noise. There should be a chat or questions box in your control panel. You can ask these questions privately. Nobody else will see who's sending them or what's being said, and we'll answer them generally, so confidentiality and all that still exists, and we'll just kind of keep this going. So I think we have our first question coming in. Let's see. So Jonas, the question here is there any advantage at all to doing a number grade versus a pass-fail?
Yes, the number grade, especially if it's a C roughly or higher, is always going to work out better for your GPA, because a pass has no real advantage for that grade point average. It simply means you passed the course and got credits for it. So if you needed a 2.0, for example, to remain eligible in a sport, if you needed a 3.0 for a scholarship, and you're doing well and you got A's and B's in those classes, please take the A's and the B's. Or in the case of a 2.0, take a C. The P is really if like, oh man, I am struggling with this online world. I've gone, I was a B student. I got a D now in my history 205 class. I don't want that D on my transcript. That's when you should take the pass credit, because it'll allow you to keep the grade point average up, get the credits for the class, but not have to take the GPA hit. To me, that's the real advantage of this thing, is it allows you as a student some opportunities for choice to pick the grade you want and kind of like push the ones you don't really care for to the side right now.
All right, so we've got some more coming in now, Jonas. Here's a good one. So what if I already have a very high GPA? Wouldn't a B potentially lower your GPA?
Yes, if you have a 4.0 and you think you got a B in one of those courses, take a pass. Because you're right, it'll keep your GPA at a 4.0. And here's going to be the caveat with so much of this stuff that we talk about. So let's say you're a 4.0 student and you think you're going to go to graduate school or law school or med school. That P on your transcript historically has been looked at by where you're going to go as a C. So all of a sudden, the school you're sending it to thinks you got a 2.0 in it. I don't think that's going to be the case, because every college and university in America is doing some version of this pretty much this semester. So I wouldn't let that worry you. But if you have a question about it, if you're legitimately concerned of like, okay, if I take this P, is it going to harm my ability to get into Duquesne Law? Talk to them and ask them of like, oh, okay, what's going to be your policy on people who take pass classes? Is it really going to punish me for this? That answer is probably going to be no, but I also don't work there, so I can't make that decision for them. But that was a great question. Thank you, anonymous internet user.
All right, so another question here is, does the pass no credit policy apply for graduate students?
The pass no credit policy applies for graduate students as well, yes, with the exception of certain kinds of, my understanding is if you're in the PsyD program, it doesn't. But as far as I know, all the other ones, it does. Again, that's going to be worth talking to your chair or a dean about, just to make sure, because I don't want to be a person who like gives you terrible advice. But my understanding is like across the board, this is for everyone. Online students, on-ground students, hybrid students, you name it. This gets to be for everybody because everyone's been disrupted.
So this is an extension to a previous question
Right.
relating to the GPA and calculating if like you have a B or like a 4.0, Jonas, as you were giving in your example. The question basically is saying, so there is some calculation that may be involved in this decision from the student, whether it's like a GPA calculator, things like that.
Is there a what? I
Um,
missed the second part because I was thinking of the answer already, but didn't hear the rest of the question. Sorry, internet.
is there some like calculation then that students should consider when making this decision, like a GPA calculator, to see like how that plays or how that may play out?
Yeah, and it's almost always going to be the 3 credits idea, right? If you have 15 credits, 5 classes, it works out to be a pretty easy GPA calculation from there. It gets a little bit more complicated when you have a 4 credit course or a 1 credit course, because then we enter into the very murky world of quality grade point average, the QPAs. If you end up in that world, it's probably easier to directly contact me, Jonas Prida, or a faculty member, a student for a student success advisor, or somebody else, because they'll know a little bit more about your specific schedule. And not knowing like how all the parts are working together, I don't want to give you an answer on that now, but the tool is there, and frankly, I can probably answer the specific question in 3 to 4 minutes. I just don't know enough about it right now.
I think this is a really good question that just came through. The question is basically asking, how does one go about requesting for a pass or no credit?
Super. And this is going to be, a lot of people are going to have this question, and so if it shows up a couple different times on here, good. Um, on So through your point web, essentially where like your grades will show up, you're going to be able to see a drop down menu that will just bring forth your classes, right? If you have 5 classes this semester, you'll see all 5 of them in there, right? You got your history, your marketing, blah blah blah, and then you can kind of just work it like a click down menu of, I want this course, and this course to be grades. I want this course and this course to be pass no credit. It will then automatically, this is the charm of it, that form will get sent to the people it needs to get sent to. Center for Student Success Advisor and the registrar's office, and then kind of all the back end work is done. It's designed to be really easy for you as students, because we all know that none of the rest of this stuff has been easy for you as students. And so it will come to you through a variety of information flows. So there'll be an email, there'll be Schoology alerts, there'll be material in point web. You'll probably get an email from me, because I want you to make an informed choice and not have a panic decision of, oh, I'm just going to take all passes this semester, when really you could have taken 1 pass and still ended up with a 3.25. So there'll be more on that coming out as far as just communication in general. Hopefully that was helpful to somebody out there.
They responded and said, "Oh, cool, easy." So I'm going to assume that that was
Yes.
sufficient, Jonas.
We tried to, in putting the form together, look at it from the perspective that frankly all of this stuff should be looked at. If I'm a student, how would I want this to be developed? And then it became easy once we realized you could let the technology do the work. You shouldn't have to fill out a form to do this. You should click a few buttons and it should be done.
And there are a couple questions coming in now, Jonas, around this topic. Let's see. So basically what's being asked is, when can a student elect a pass or no credit option for spring of 2020? What is the time
Right.
frame?
May 1st to May 7th. That's the only period you have to do this. And so at 12:01 in the morning or whatever it is, May 1st, you'll have access to your courses to be able to do this stuff. May 7th, it shuts down. So you don't have an ability to do it afterwards. because remember, we're requiring your professors to put up your actual letter grade first, so you can make the informed decision on what you want to do. And so that way on May 1st, you can be like, oh, okay, I want to pick these 2 to keep and these 3 to have a pass or no credit policy on, or no credit decision on. And so it's just that 1 week. And that'll be important to keep in mind. You can't already do it for obvious reasons that I won't go into here. But if you were a sneaky student, you could figure them out.
And I'm starting to get a lot of questions come in. So just everybody, as you're asking them, no, I'm seeing them. I'm going to be responding to some privately if it's a little bit more specific. If we haven't gotten to it yet, just stay patient and we'll get to these questions. I want to try to get a flow going here with consistency. So a good question here is, does the pass-fail impact students using the GI Bill?
Does the that is an outstanding question that I do not have an answer for. My guess is no, because I don't think the GI Bill requires a specific GPA. That's just me summoning that stuff out of some like dusty book knowledge way in the back. But I can have this question be directed to Deb Bateman or Heather Jericho. Those 2 people in the registrar's office handle all Veterans Affairs material. They'll be able to get you that answer in 5 minutes. So if whoever that, Angela, I see you writing something down. So we'll make sure that comes back to you, because that matters for a lot of reasons. And if one person's asking that question who's a vet on campus, there's probably 15 who couldn't make this who have a similar question.
Yes, and for these specific questions where we don't have a specific answer right now, I am writing down the names and the questions. Good. And we will make sure that there is a follow-up that is sent to everybody who has a question like that can't be answered here in the webinar. So thank you to that individual who asked that. Very good question. Let's see here. Next up. Oh, similar vein. So does taking AP or an NC affect an athlete's eligibility in any way?
No, this one I can't answer. As long as you still maintain the 2.0, which is what you need to be able to be eligible in a sport, then you're fine taking a P or an NC. I'll use the example again. So let's say you have 5 courses, a full load. You get 3 C's, a D, and an F this semester because it's like been really crazy for you and you had to travel somewhere and you just didn't have time to focus in the way you needed to. The way probably to go forward on this, take the 3 C's, that allows you the 2.0 to stay eligible. Take a pass for the D grade, because it will still allow you to maintain full-time status, right? You still get the credits, and then take the no credit on the F, and then pick up that class in the summer or something like that. So it's really about using the tool of the 2.0 smartly.
All right, another good question that came through. Everybody's doing a great job with these questions. Can you go over how pass no credit option affects transfer students?
Are we talking about if you're at Point Park now and you're transferring out?
If the individual who asked that question wants to be more specific on that, yes. I do believe that this is a current student here at Point Park. So let's see. They said yes to your question back.
Great. So if you're at Point Park now and you're like, hey, I want to transfer to University X, the key will be to start talking now to that university or college that you're going to go to and just ask them the question of what does my pass count for, right? Does it count as a 2.0? Does it just count as credits that are coming in? You know, how are you going to look at this thing? Because it's not up to Point Park to determine how those credits are going to be conferred. It's up to the school you're going to. So just ask them. Just send a letter or an email to their registrar. They'll get back to you very quickly on it, and if they don't, that's on them. My guess is it's going to be easy because so many schools are going to be dealing with this. Point Park will have a similar thing, right? I help oversee the registrar's office now. When we get transfers coming in, we'll look at those transfers. Somebody might have 5 Ps, right? And then we'll try to make an evaluation based on like this person probably faced what a lot of our students faced. We know that these grades are probably like good enough for them to come in. They can get the credits. We'll place them appropriate, and everybody will be happy. There's going to be a lot of students who are going to have that going on in about this semester of like, how did I even make it through that? Hopefully that
Okay.
answered it, and if not, please contact me again, and I can try to provide some administrative support for you to like find out who to talk to on that end and just some of those things, because that's I can easily see how that might be a tricky email to craft.
All right. So this is a very specific question. I think it's a good one as well. In reference to pass no credit, is this only for spring term 2?
No, it is for any. So yeah, this is a good one. Good job, internet. It's for every course that isn't spring term 1, because those grades are already booked. And so for any other class that you're taking, spring 2, all regular on ground on sitting in the class that started in January, all the rest of it this counts for. The only one that it doesn't is spring 1, because those grades are already booked. I'll answer it through negation.
All right, we have about 3 or 4 questions that have come in about this particular topic. So
Okay.
one fell swoop, we'll try to answer it. How does this affect Point Park's existing scholarships?
It will sort of return to the GPA question. So if you're on a scholarship plan that requires you to have a 3.0, then your key is going to be making sure that you maintain that 3.0. But again, it might just need to be in 2 classes. We'll go back to our made up student who takes 5 courses, 15 credits, and that she has an A or a B. No, she has an 1A, 1B, and then, had some pretty rough go on some of the other ones. That person should probably take the A, the B, and then 3 passes, because it'll allow them to maintain above a 3.0, and then they'll keep their scholarships. As always with that stuff, talk to your chair or a dean on it just to confirm that, because part of what you're doing here is playing a psychological game with them. And I don't mean this in a bad way, that if you talk to them ahead of time about like, hey, I'm not necessarily nervous, but I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing, they'll also be very willing to work with you, because everybody knows that a lot of students are going to have these questions.
Jonas, this is a question that revolves around the pass no credit. I think it's worth being asked here. So
Great.
With this policy, and just I guess in general with this transition to online and with finals and the end of the semester coming up, what's being asked basically is, are professors being understanding and giving more time for assignments if needed due to this transition to online? And for those who may be affected by COVID-19 or family members that may be unfortunately affected by this?
Yes. So informally, I can say that every professor that I've talked to about this has been under the, oh yeah, we understand, right? That students are under incredible pressure in a way that nobody here expected. And so we've been trying to provide support for them of like, yeah, give the student an extra day. It doesn't, the ones and zeros in the computer don't care if it's a day late. Also, as a student, remember that your faculty members are facing similar things. And so they're, in a way that is not always the same, that they're facing a similar life challenge that you are. And they're now, some of them, in homebound as well, or they may have an older parent who is in a high risk group, or they may know somebody who has COVID-19. And so unlike a lot of other cases, sympathy is really going to run both ways, I think, in this sort of scenario. And faculty, I think, will be supportive of students who are legitimately trying but are having a hard time with the transition. And we can't make them, right? The administration can't tell faculty like, hey, be nicer. But I frankly don't think we're going to have to. And part of that is, again, you as a student, just reach out to those people early and just say, hey, I'm kind of struggling with how this thing's working. I'm doing all my work on a mobile device, because multiple students have talked about this, right? Is like, I don't have a computer, so I have to type out a 2,500 word essay on my phone. That sucks. And I'm just like, yes, that does suck. So talk to somebody, talk to your faculty people about this, and just let them know, like, it's going to go slow, and there might be a few more errors than there usually are, or I might need 48 more hours because it's my one chance to get a computer at the house. Those people are going to be behind you. I think as much as we kind of have liked to be like that, this has been challenging. It's also really shown that faculty people care a lot about students at Point Park in a way that not everybody has to. And so I think just maintaining good communication with those faculty about that will be very helpful.
Here's a question. We may have discussed this, but I think it's worth repeating. Let's see. The P, I guess this is specifically to a P.
Okay.
Does a P not get a GPA value? That is, in order to have a GPA this semester, do I have to receive some letter grades this semester?
No. So if you took five pass classes this year, your GPA would not be affected. It would just be whatever your GPA was going into this semester. You would get all the credits, right? You would still continue to accumulate credits to move towards graduation, right? You could, if you were at 80 coming into the semester, you would be at 95 at the end of the semester, but your GPA would be what it was in fall, not in spring. And again, if you're, part of this is being smart as a student. If you had 1A, right, and the rest of the classes weren't that great, man, just take the A and then take 4 classes as a pass, right? Then all of a sudden you can tell everyone you got a 4.0.
Here's an interesting question, Jonas. With incomplete grade requests, how would the pass no credit work in that situation? If somebody is accepted into the incomplete grade, and let's say they have until the end of July to complete their coursework, do they then get that 5, 6, 7 day window to make this election?
So I'm a student. I've decided to take an incomplete, and that incomplete allows me to go until June. Is that the question? You kind of froze out a little bit. So no, you don't get to make this decision after the fact. It's so if you're taking an incomplete in a course, that's your decision for now, and that will go out into the future for you. So if you're going to take the I, make sure you complete the course, because you won't get a chance to have it be a pass, no credit. And there's very few people taking that now as a person who signs those incompletes. So thank you, students. You're doing yourself a favor.
All right, we've had some really good questions here. I see the flow of it starting to slow down, which I think maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we're doing a good job here, Jonas, at answering these questions. I want to remind everybody that right now we have Dr. Jonas Prida, Assistant Provost here, and I am with the Center for Student Success. We're here to answer your questions on the pass no credit policy that's being implemented here for spring of 2020 due to COVID-19 and the changes at the university. So if you have any questions, everybody's muted. There's no webcams right now. We're respecting the confidentiality and privacy of everybody. Please feel free to ask a question, whether it's specific or general, whether it was asked already, if you need a clarification. It's a great opportunity now to get an answer, hopefully, to the questions that you have with this policy. I'm going to give it a minute or two here, Jonas, just to make sure that I caught all the questions that were asked and were not repeats, and give a opportunity for a few more to trickle in here.
Yeah, great. And I can, it's easy for me to fill time as a person who is a professional talker. If you're still out there, internets, a lot of this same information is accessible through the YouTube video that was sent out to all students. 1,000 people somehow have watched that. So that's 1 out of every 4 students in some ways at Point Park. I mean, it's not, because like probably people have watched it multiple times or whatever, but it makes me feel better when I think of it that way. And it will walk you through many of these same questions. It gives you the calendar dates. It'll show you where the form's going to be. There's also going to be there's some infographic stuff will come out through your the Center for Student Success on just like almost decision trees on how to make some of these decisions. So we're going to continue to try to provide you good tools for making a good decision. That sounds like bad marketing, sorry. Good tools for good decisions, brought to you by Point Park.
And what I'm doing right now for everybody who's interested in that video that Dr. Prida just mentioned, it's a really good video. Honestly, I enjoyed watching it. I think it answers a lot of questions. It's available on YouTube. And if you just search Point Park University pass fail, you'll find it. Or I'll make it even easier for you right now in the chat area where I've been just giving some general encouragement to ask questions. I linked the YouTube video to the chat. So if you're interested in seeing that, there's basically 2 parts to this video that explain this pass no credit policy and some pretty good animation. So whoever did the video, good job on that. I liked it.
Chase, former Point Parker. Yeah, Point Park alum did all the work.
So great job on all that. It's a good video. It'll give a lot of insight to this policy, and I linked that video now in the chat. So feel free to check that out as well. Let's see, we got a couple. Here's another question. Give me one second. Good. Oh, this is a good question. All right, so this individual, they were in a spring term 1 class.
Okay.
They got an incomplete in this class, and they have until the end of term 2 to complete a term 1 class. Do they get to consider the pass no credit policy in that situation?
Off the top of my head, no. But what this person really should do is send me an email. Again, jprida@pointpark.edu. Angelo's also writing this down. And I can check in with the registrar and the faculty member to confirm that, because I don't want to give you bad advice. But I don't think that's something that was done, that's an official grade from a previous semester gets to fall under this expansion of the pass no credit. But you win. That's the second, I might even say that's the most obscure question of the day, slightly edging out the GI Bill one.
And right now what I'm doing, I messaged that individual privately, and I provided Dr. Prida's email address. So
fantastic. Yeah, I'll be able to get back to you almost immediately on that one.
Feel free to take him up on that offer. And I'm also typing it right now into the main chat area. I'm just making sure I typed it correctly in case anybody else has questions. But make sure you also follow up with your success coordinator in the Center for Student Success, yes. Your faculty advisors, department chairs, things like that. Is you know, it's definitely a collaborative team effort in this decision-making process. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me read it real quick. This is pretty specific, and this may require a GPA calculator, but I'll ask the question. If you are a freshman, had a 3.75 GPA in fall,
okay.
In this term, you had 5 classes, 1 with an A, and 3 you choose to take a pass, and okay. 1 class as no credit.
Gotcha.
What can you expect the GPA to be?
For the semester, it would be a 4.0, but you would only accumulate 12 credits, right? Because anytime you take the NC, that's its punishment, so to speak, is that it doesn't move you forward towards graduation, because you're saying like, I couldn't really do it, and so I don't really get the credits for it, and so you'll end up needing to pick up those 3 credits somewhere else along the way. Right, it might be in a summer course. It might be a course where you take 18 credits. It's probably going to fall into that range, and so that will be another one that will be worth talking. I mean, they all are really, but worth talking to a advisor about, or a faculty person of just like, here's my idea. I'm trying to do it this way. Does this really get me off sequence? As a first-year student, probably not, because you have a little bit more lag time to worry about like, oh, okay, I can do this in 3 different summers. But if you were a junior or senior, then that would be a little bit more complicated of a situation for you, and you'd probably have to think about it a little bit different. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to give you advice, but I have been in school for a long time.
All right, and I also want to just take this opportunity right now as we're letting some other questions come in. If there are others out there, we still have a really good amount of people in the webinar right now. So first of all, thank you to everybody
Yeah.
who took some time to come in here and join us and ask these questions. Obviously, you care about your education as much as we all care about it as well, and we just want to make sure that you're making the right decisions and have confidence in doing it.
Yep.
When you go to exit this webinar, there will be a survey that pops up. There's 4 questions, I believe. Please take an additional minute to just respond to that survey. This will help the university to assist you even further if it's something specific to you, and also just help us gauge how to facilitate these kind of remote, engaging, interactive environments, especially during this time. We've got another question. Give me one moment.
Yep.
It's a very good question. All right, so if I withdraw from a course, I am allowed to take it at another school over the summer. So basically, if you withdraw from a class, you can then take it at CCAC and transfer it back into Point Park. If one gets an F in a class at Point Park, they cannot then transfer that class in. It has to be repeated at Point Park. What happens with the NC? Can that be only taken at Point Park, or can one take that at another institution of higher learning and transfer that in?
I think you could probably take that at another place and then transfer back in, because remember what you're saying, that it's no credit, that you're kind of just like erasing it from your transcript, and so that's why you only get 12 credits instead of 15 for the semester if you're traditional full load. Again, that's kind of like that might be our new winner for most obscure one.
Sounds like a challenge.
What's that?
Sounds like a challenge now.
Yeah. If that person is still available or can contact me again, please do so. In 2 minutes, I'll be able to get you a little bit more specific information on who to talk to, only because I don't want to say one thing and then have you 3 months later come back and be like, oh, this jerk told me that this was going to go on, blah, 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 which I can understand, right? I'd be mad too. So if you could just give me, just shoot me an email on that, I'll confirm what I said. And if I'm wrong, I'll let you know and give you some better solutions and tools around it. But I'm pretty sure that it's like the no credit means like, see you never credits.
All right, so I'm looking through, and to my knowledge, I believe I've gotten to all the different individual questions that were not repeated. Let me just take a peek here for those who are still in the webinar. And again, there are still a great amount of you. Thank you for being here. If you have more questions, more specific ones than general, feel free to ask them, and we'll either give it a shot here generally, or we'll make sure somebody links up with you after the webinar. Either Dr. Prida or someone from the Center for Student Success. Let's see here. I think as I'm waiting for another question, something that might be worth mentioning here real quick, a lot of students should have received an email from your success coordinators in the Center for Student Success with a survey link. This survey was to kind of gauge how your transition to fully online has been going this spring. We've gotten a lot of really, really great, like a high response rate and a lot of really good results from this. We're trying our best to accommodate to everybody. So check your emails always, especially in these times. Check your emails and look for that survey link and give us some insight so that we can make sure that we're helping the entire university community with this transition.
And if I could just follow up on that, one of the reasons that this stuff's important is As you students know, that frequently in something like this, you only hear the polars, right? Like somebody who had a terrible experience, you hear from them, or somebody who had a great experience, you hear from them. But most people's experiences are in the middle, and that's why it's important to get a lot of people sort of being able to fill out a survey or talk about what their experiences are, because it gives us a better sense of what if I'm a third semester criminal justice major, what was my experience like here, right, during this period? And it'll never get that specific, but it helps us have a better picture of the variety of experiences that Point Park students have gone through, and not just the people who thought it was great or terrible.
All right. So I think we've gotten through all these questions, and there
Great.
have been a lot.
Yeah, really good. Thank you.
So what I'd like to do right now is kind of give maybe an initial final kind of call for anybody who would like to pose a question. Please keep in mind these questions come into me privately. Nobody else can see these questions. We are not answering them with any names or specifics. So if you have a question, general or specific, feel free to ask it. It automatically comes in private. If it's something we can answer in the webinar, we will. If not, we will reach out to you after. So let's give it a kind of like an initial final call here to get some questions in. I see another one. So this is a good question. I feel like I keep saying that with every question. They're all good
Yeah,
questions.
good. That's what we want. Is they're garbage questions. Don't give them to us.
So as a guide, it's better to just take the letter grade if it's a C or higher. That's the
Yes,
question.
you bet. That has been my feeling on it, and like thinking pretty hard about how to ways to work through this stuff. Is if you got a C or better, just take the grade. And in a lot of cases, if you have a C now, there's still projects that you could do in the class that might turn that into a C plus or a B minus, and then that's even better. The time that you should really unleash the power of the taking the pass is when it is one of those situations where you know you're just not going to be able to pull it out of the spiral of like I just don't have the time, the energy, the resources, whatever it might be, to salvage this class, but I know I still have maybe I got a D plus in it. Those are the ones to take a pass on, because again, it's still about accumulating credits. You're still slowly trying to get to the 120, 123 to 126, whatever you need to graduate. And so it's a way to think about using them as a tactic to get to the larger strategy of what your degree is. So that, again, every situation is different, and I don't necessarily want to tell every student out there like, oh yeah, just take the C. But if we want to paint this with a really thick brush, that'd be a good one to go with. C's and better, think about keeping the grade. Starts to dip below that, then maybe think about taking the pass. And if it's an F, certainly give yourself the opportunity to take the no credit. Yeah, you don't get the credit for the semester, but it's better than having an F on your transcript.
This is an extension of that question,
Okay.
Jonas, from a different individual for some clarity. So they're asking with that question, extension is, does that apply for any C or like a C, like above a C? So I guess the question is really asking, like, what if it's a C minus?
If it's a C minus, I would then pay attention to what my specific major needs me to do, and also where that class exists for you. Let's say you're part of the engineering program, which is obviously a very demanding program here at Point Park, and the C minus is in an understanding people course that you're taking for the core. And I'm a humanist, so this is not degrading what that might mean for you developing as a person, but for something like that, the C minus is going to be fine. However, in another sort of scenario where you might need to maintain XYZ grade point average, or you maybe want to go to graduate school or some of that kind of stuff, then I would think twice about the C minus being the way to go and be like, maybe this one is just a pass, especially if it's in a non-discipline specific course. The core matters a lot, right? I feel like now I got to backtrack because I help, the core falls under me. I think it's super important for us to be well-rounded people. It actually really develops skills that we need to use and learn, but at the same time, I'm a realist.
All right, so will the deadline for the W request be extended for this
No.
semester, or at this point, do I have to use the pass no credit or receive the letter grade?
Yeah, good question, and I didn't mean to jump in and stop that one, but that one's come up 2 times already this morning in different meetings that I had. So yeah, the W deadline was not extended because in some ways it doesn't really. At this point, I want to help you anyways. So with this one, do what you can in the class, talk to your instructors about it, and then make a decision wisely from there.
Really great questions, really great engagement in here so far. A lot of specific, a lot of general. We have, what is it, 12:45 here on the East Coast. I feel like I have to specify that now that we're all over the globe.
All over the place. Learning happens everywhere.
It does. So with these final minutes here in this webinar, please take this opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. Again, they are private. No one's going to see these questions beyond Dr. Prida and myself so that we can help facilitate. I want to take an opportunity while we're waiting for any final questions to come in to just remind any students who are still on this webinar, if you have not registered for your summer classes, there are summer classes here at Point Park. The first term is going to be fully online.
Yes.
The majority of classes in the summer at Point Park are online anyways, a good portion of them. So make sure that you are getting in at this point. Every current student at Point Park, whether you're a freshman or a senior, you have the ability to register for classes unless there's a specific hold that may be on your account for whatever reason. You want to make sure you get that resolved as soon as possible. Please make sure if you have not reserved your classes yet that you do so. This is very important. Sections are filling, and we want to make sure that you feel confident and comfortable in what you're doing this summer and this fall here at Point Park. So please make sure you go in, reserve your classes, reach out to the Center for Student Success so we can review it and approve that schedule and get you moving forward.
I second that.
Let's see. And again, with the summer as well, we have a lot of summer classes here at Point Park. So if you, let's say that you're a student that maybe is going to elect a no credit here this spring, this might be a great opportunity for you to get caught back up, or even if you're not utilizing the pass no credit and all is well, summer classes are a great way to get a jump, accelerate your education, and maybe knock out a few classes that you don't want to take in the heaviness of a semester. So please make sure you go and do that.
Especially if you're a student who's learned through this bizarre transition that you're actually okay with online learning, which I know hasn't been everyone, and understandably, right? It doesn't engage every student in the same way. But if you were a student who'd never had it before, never had a good experience with it, all of a sudden started taking it and be like, oh, I'm disciplined enough to do this stuff. It actually works really well with my lifestyle. Now that you know that, summer 1 and summer 2 are ways to take advantage of that. Pick up 3 credits each semester, you're 6 along the way, do that 3 times over the course of your Point Park career, and you can graduate a semester early. Then go be famous.
I know I've worked with a lot of my students, and I've seen a lot of students accelerate their graduation. They have a sense of urgency to get into their chosen field of study, and utilizing summer sessions really helps them get to where they want to be. So definitely consider that. You can see all of these summer offerings right now in Point Web. You log into pointweb.pointpark.edu, go to your add courses area, make sure you select the correct term at the top. It will say summer 2020, and then go to town.
Yep, wide field.
All right, so we have just under 10 minutes left in this webinar. We still have a healthy amount of people in here, so thank you for sticking it out here for this full hour. This is impressive. Are there any final questions about the pass no credit policy here for spring of 2020 that we can pose to Dr. Prida before we conclude. This is going to be one of the final calls for any questions. And I'll just remind everybody, when you go to exit the webinar, please consider taking the survey at the end. This is going to help your Point Park University community do better,
Yes.
as that is a goal to always do better and to service students, especially in these unprecedented times.
So as we sort of just like wrap this up, again, I just want to, this sounds weird coming through an image on your computer. First off, I am real. This isn't, we didn't like program this person. But I just want to thank everybody for your unbelievable willingness to like be a participant in this crazy experience that we're having right now. It's hard to have historical perspective if you're 18 to 24, which in some ways is might be who we're talking to right now. I can't see you, so I don't know. But this will be a time that you'll get to talk about later. And it'll be a historical moment that you can say like, oh yeah, I was a Point Park student. This thing happened. We moved 1,000 people out of the residence halls in 2 weeks, and every class all of a sudden went online in 7 days. And all of this stuff went down, and I still ended up doing really well. I learned a bunch out of that experience. I learned a lot about myself. I moved on in my career, and in some ways that very strange 6 to 8 week, which hopefully that's all this is going to be, struggle that we're having now will both be formative, but it'll also help you like see things in an interesting perspective as far as learning is going to be.
That's a really cool point. I remember speaking to a few of my students, Jonas, before we had to move off campus, and I know a lot of students had some initial concerns about this change, and what I was telling everybody was in a similar vein where, you know, it'll build some grit and some character in you. In 2020, a lot of things are remote or internet based, and it's good to get some kind of conditioning to that and experience it. Even just somebody who, you know, a staff member at Point Park, the Center for Student Success is working remotely, and because of my experiences of taking online classes in the past, I hit the ground running. I felt very comfortable in a professional role to go mobile and online. And so I think that this is a good experience. I say that, you know, I know it sounds terrible, but it's a good experience to learn how to transition and face adversity in a very quick way and speak to it in the future.
Yeah, agreed. And everybody really stay safe. I mean, that's the least profound thing I will say today, but it's the obvious one. I'm like, I know it's hard. If I, you know, 18 to 25, whatever it is, it's hard not to go out. You know, you want to see your friends, all that kind of good stuff, but just try to stay inside, wash your hands, play with your dogs, do whatever you're going to do. It's going to end. That's the other thing that I think we will, that's important to realize about all this stuff is like at a certain point, all of this will go away. And hopefully in the fall, we'll get to see everybody back at Point Park. You know, we'll see you in your, as people, right? In a way that's different than through a screen. And I'll get to like go to dance performances again and go see people singing in the hallways and all that stuff that I really like about Point Park and why it's such an energizing place to work.
And it's really been encouraging. I run the social media for the Center for Student Success. It's been really inspiring and encouraging to see just where all of our students are right now, like and where they're learning, how they're learning, what their setups are. There's a lot of inspiration that is coming from such a dark time, and so keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing ahead. This is a glimmer in time, hopefully. We have one. It looks like one other question came in, Jonas. And I'm going to give one last call now at this point. With 5 minutes to go on the webinar for any final questions. This question is, if you take a pass for a required math class, does that count, or do you have to take it over?
No, that will count. And then you can just move on. You can be like, thanks, math 181. I'm never talking to you again. The only way you couldn't is if you got the failing grade, right? If you got an F in the course and then either took the F or took the no credit, both of those would require you to take the class again. but the P will count, right? It allows you to continue to advance on, because it means that you did well enough to pass. You got the 60 percent in the course, which, that's not great, but it's great enough to get you to take the next math course, or never have to take a math course again and go read books, which was what I would have done. Except now I realize math matters, but 20-year-old Jonas, he wouldn't have cared at all.
I agree. I was like that in my undergrad. I couldn't find the connection to math, and it definitely comes back around. So
yeah, it really has. And then I spend so much time looking at statistics now, but at the time it's just like, this is stupid. Math's just rules I don't care about.
All right, so I am just giving one final look here. I do not see any questions that I didn't get to. If for some reason I did miss a question, please feel free to email Jonas Prida, the assistant provost here at Point Park, at jprida, P-R-I-D-A, at pointpark.edu. You can also reach out to your individual Center for Student Success coordinator with questions, concerns. I am going off of memory. Maybe I shouldn't go off of memory, but the CSS email is, let's see, css@pointpark.edu. Easy enough. Easy handle there.
Good.
So if you have a general question for the Center for Student Success, it's css@pointpark.edu. And Jonas, with that, I'm gonna give you the final say here, the final word to kind of have everybody ride into the sunset with this webinar.
Sure. Once again, everybody, thank you for your time on this. There's probably different ways you could have spent an hour, but I would like to believe that this was a productive way for you to have spent the hour. And remember that our job is to help you. And so if you legitimately don't really know where to go, or aren't sure what to do with this, or how's this thing going to move forward, please just contact somebody. The worst thing you could do is just stumble through it blindly and not really get advice from someone, because you know that there's Point Park is largely made up of faculty, staff, and admin people who want to help you succeed. And so make us do our jobs and help you succeed. So please email me. You're not making me do anything than what they pay me to do. And so if you have a question, even if it seems a simple one, like, hey, will this work? I'll make sure you get an answer that will let you know if that'll work or not. And again, everyone, just continue to be safe. Hopefully we'll see everybody in the fall, and continue to learn.
There we go. All right, everybody here at Point Park University, thank you for joining this webinar. Dr. Prida, thank you for giving us your time here and collaborating with the Center for Student Success. Hopefully we have more of these in the future, with or without the forcefulness of going remote. It's a unique way to engage. So everybody, thank you very much. Be safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.